The SEC takes a massive loss in the Coinbase case, getting called arbitrary and capricious again. And Gary Gensler is trying to save face. He's got a bunch of media rounds he's going to do tomorrow. I'll share what the industry is saying about all of this and Gary Gensler. And reports are coming in that Donald Trump is going to do an executive order day one for crypto, possibly repealing SOB 121. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, we got to talk about Bitcoin because we know Bitcoin took a bit of a tumble earlier today and it's currently up a bit. It's around $94,000. But what's happening from the macro, right? We've been talking about the macro backdrop with the Treasury bond yields and inflation. You got problems happening in California with fires. I think it's now the United States' costliest natural disaster. So there's a lot going on and the markets are a bit spooked. However, what we've seen is that narrative usually follows price. And I think there's a bit of that because after the Q4 run up, which was incredible, a cool down was needed. And then you had all these things pop up and it's driving more sell pressure. However, from a macro perspective, guys, we're still on track. There hasn't been any invalidation of the bull market. And I love what analyst Crypto Wizard had to say. Not much longer. Bitcoin is experiencing a healthy ABC correction, just like it did every January in a bull market. It's nearing its end. History shows after this, we'll see a rally with a March top. If you're calling a top, you might want to do that in March. So it's what I've been telling you guys, right? The seasonality is playing out here, not just for Bitcoin and crypto, but for the stock market. I told you guys we could see a run up into March, April. Then what happens? Sell in May, go away, then a continuation in Q3 into a Q4 mania blow off top. Now, the blow off top could come at the end of Q2. That's possible as well. So we'll have to watch the charts closely. But what we're experiencing right now is nothing outside of the norm. And that is what I want to hammer home, because when you look at the charts and the data and much more, no invalidation, similar patterns to what we saw in 2017, 2021, and now in 2025, guys. So we got to really exercise patience and really look at the data. He also highlighted the following: a market sweep. We're now on the 5th sweep. Some people never learn. Bitcoin will sweep sellers up and leave them trapped and sidelined, only to see it rally to new all-time highs once again. It's an evil world for bears. So bears are going to get excited. Oh, you see, Bitcoin's down and altcoins are down. We're going to short, but it's very dangerous to short in a bull market because things can reverse very quickly because you have that sentiment. You have other macro factors. So bears are on a short leash here. And while they may get some profits shorting a bit, it's not going to last long because this is not the blow up top, folks, based on the data, not our feelings and emotions. So we really got to be patient here, guys. And let's see if there's some recovery by the time next week that Trump is back in office and we get some updates from a macro perspective, what the Fed's going to do, QE and all those things. Now, speaking of President Trump, guys, there's reports coming out from the Washington Post saying President-elect Trump expected to repeal crypto accounting policy requiring banks holding digital assets to count them as liabilities. So what is this? It's the repeal of the SEC's bullshit rule SOB 121, which is like a de facto block on banks being able to hold Bitcoin and crypto on their books. So that's the block, right? And it looks like they want to make this a high priority and get it repealed. It could be some sort of executive order. That would be huge because if these banks are able to hold directly, it removes a big roadblock and they can start buying and holding directly. So here's a quote from that article. The Trump team has made it very clear that this is a priority. So very bullish news here, guys. Now, the big news of the day, the SEC and Gary Gensler take a massive loss in the Coinbase case. They continue to lose. It's what we've been talking about since the Ripple lawsuit was filed. We've been talking about it on this podcast for years, calling out the hypocrisy, the lies, and the unlawful activity of the SEC and Gary Gensler. Paul Grewal, chief legal officer at Coinbase, tweeted out, "We just won our petition for a writ of mandamus at the Third Circuit, rebuking the SEC for its order denying our rulemaking petition. The court held that the SEC's order was conclusory and insufficient reasoned, and thus arbitrary and capricious. We grant Coinbase's petition in part and remand to the SEC for a more complete explanation. And guys, I mean, wow. The second time this government agency funded by your tax dollars is getting called arbitrary and capricious. And that's because it's being led by a scumbag regulator, Gary Gensler, who does not care about the law. How many times have I told you guys that? He doesn't care about the law. This is about power. This is him being lobbied by the banking cartel to shut down these crypto startups so that the banking cartel can take over. It's the Jamie Dimons of the world that are pulling the strings here. We saw it in 2024 when Elizabeth Warren teamed up with Jamie Dimon to bash Bitcoin and crypto. And we're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren a bit later because she's still up to her nonsense. But guys, what a massive win for Coinbase and what an epic defeat, a massive L for Gary Gensler and the SEC. This is how he's going out. Let me give you some more details here from an article that did a full write-up. In a January 13th opinion issued by the Third Circuit, a panel of 3 judges granted a petition from Coinbase in part, but declined to order the SEC to launch rulemaking proceedings that could clarify the commission's position on crypto. Coinbase's appeal stemmed from a 2022 request for the SEC to create rules to govern the regulation of securities that are offered and traded via digitally native methods, including potentially rules to identify which digital assets are securities. The SEC denied Coinbase's petition in 2023, prompting the exchange to appeal to the Third Circuit. According to the judges, the SEC's order denying Coinbase's request for crypto rules was conclusory and insufficiently reasoned, and thus arbitrary and capricious. Unbelievable. They got called arbitrary and capricious in the Grayscale case for denying the Bitcoin spot ETF. And we know what happened after that, of course, and getting called out here. And guys, the losses are piling up, right? And we'll see what Gary decides to do, this scumbag, if he does anything with the Ripple case right before, he heads out. I don't know if he will, but you can't put anything past this guy. He is a scumbag regulator, and he's a puppet on strings. So whatever his puppet masters tell him to do, he's going to do. The industry weighed in, every legal expert calling out the huge win. Here, Stuart Alderati of Ripple, chief legal officer at Ripple, said, huge congratulations to Paul Grewal and Coinbase for their win today. In Gensler's final days, his anti-crypto crusade is imploding, and a federal appeals court has laid bare what the industry has said for years. His selective enforcement of securities laws was a not-so-covert attempt to ban the industry outright. Shameful. So he's spot on there. Also, attorney Fred Rispoli said, love seeing the SEC get called out at the appellate level today. FYI, at highly professional appellate level, calling the SEC evasive and engaging in puzzling behavior can be translated as calling them lying chumps in a common vernacular. So this is what I'm telling you guys, the SEC has become so rotten at its core, and they will lie. They will stab you in the back. These are the people, once again, supposed to be the good guys protecting consumers, right? Abiding by the law, but they will break the law. They will lie to the court. Just look at the debt box case. They got sanctioned in the debt box case for lying to the judge. Why would you do that? Why would you go to that extent for a small industry like crypto? Because that industry is disrupting the status quo of the banking cartel. That's why you go that far. That's why you don't care about what happens to your reputation. You are doing the bidding of those banking puppet masters. And that is not conspiratorial, guys. That is fact. If you know how politics works and money works and how the incumbents will fight and the strings they will pull the people in the government. Hey, I gave you campaign donations. Hey, Gary, you're one of us. You're a Goldman Sachs guy. You know what to do. Remember, Gary, before he came to the SEC, was very pro-crypto. The man was talking about building Uber on Algorand. He was teaching Bitcoin and crypto at MIT. He tried to go work for Binance. Then you come to the SEC and all of a sudden this is all a scam and it's all garbage and it's ripe with fraud and all, right? So notice the complete 180. Why? his puppet masters told him what to do. Here, Fred Rispoli continued saying, after reading this, Coinbase emphatically did not win this case. TLDR, it lost on almost every argument, only starts winning on page 38. And what it did win on, the SEC did not provide a sufficient reason for denying the petition, can be remedied by the SEC upon remand. But interestingly, this is a phenomenal concurrence by Judge Bibas that is exactly what Ripple is appealing. That old, musty, dusty, crusty rules from a century ago don't work for crypto. As I explained, its old regulations fit poorly with this new technology, and its enforcement strategy raises constitutional notice concerns. That is a quote from the judge. And then Freddie says, if the Second Circuit adopts this line of reasoning, the SEC's done for good with crypto. Wow. And we know the FIT 21 bill, which was passed through the House last year, Democrat and Republican support, gives more power to the CFTC and takes away a lot from the SEC. So there'll be more balance in the market. So Gensler's done, man. He's going to be out next week. My hope is that he doesn't do anything shady here. And let's see what happens. But you can't trust this guy. He is a scumbag. And check this out. He's doing his media tour before he runs out of office. He says, tomorrow I'll be on CNBC at 8 a.m. and then Yahoo Finance at 3 p.m. Most people will go out quietly. Even Jay Clayton kind of, went out quietly, even though he dropped that lawsuit, but he didn't go on a media tour. Gensler's trying to save face. So you see what's happening here. He just did an interview with Bloomberg. Why do you need to do CNBC and Yahoo Finance? Trying to save face because he's getting destroyed. He's losing in the courts, right? He's trying to change the headlines from the SEC gets called arbitrary and capricious right as he's about to exit. Notice what this is the game. Gary knows he's a smart guy. I'm not saying he's dumb, but he's a scumbag. So, and John Deaton summed it up really well. He says, another example of how Gary Gensler is leaving the SEC in disgrace. The reputation of the SEC, both inside and outside the courtroom, is in complete shambles. Paul Atkins has his work cut out for him. He says, it would be nice to witness real reform in the SEC. Also, we need to reform/abolish the accredited investor rule. The rule is inconsistent with the free market capitalism and oppressive in a society of self-determination. If you can serve your country in the Marine Corps and risk dying, you should be able to purchase pre-IPO shares of Visa like Nancy Pelosi and her husband did. I love that. I love that. Guys, we are winning. We are on the right side of history. Gensler's done. But before I continue, guys, we're going to talk about Paul Atkins and Elizabeth Warren. Be sure to check out our sponsor, BitGo, which is one of the top tier crypto custodians in the crypto market. BitGo is headed up by Mike Belshi, who's a Web 1.0 and 2.0 legend. BitGo works with many big companies across the crypto industry, such as exchanges. They work with, for example, Bitstamp Exchange, Sui, the crypto token project, Pantera Capital, that's Dan Morehead's hedge fund, 21 Shares, which issues Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So they have a variety of services, wallet services. They have a liquidity and capital hub and a whole bunch of things. And they recently launched, guys, a retail platform where you as individuals can go buy, sell, trade, and stake crypto. So it's really great. Easy to sign up. So check out the link in the description or go to bitgo.com. Now let's continue, guys. Paul Atkins has been making the rounds, meeting with different members of Congress, and we're seeing a lot of pro-crypto people meeting with Paul. And here's Senator Bill Haggerty, who's been a champion for crypto, says Paul Atkins' background at the SEC and in the private sector witnessing the real-life impact of regulations makes him exactly the person that the SEC needs as its next chair. It was great to meet with him, and I look forward to seeing him lead the agency. So we are seeing a pro-crypto alliance here, guys, with Donald Trump positioning pro-crypto people across the government. Now, Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler's handler, right? She sent a lengthy letter to Treasury Secretary designate Scott Bessent. So Scott Bessent's pro-crypto. He's going to be in office very soon. And of course, that letter included a whole bunch of anti-crypto stuff. So Eleanor Terra to Fox Business summarized it well, saying Senator Warren's 31-page letter to Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent previews a number of crypto-related questions she plans to ask during his confirmation before the Senate Finance Committee on Thursday. Questions include whether he thinks the Treasury sanctions arm, OFAC, should have jurisdiction over stablecoins and whether or not it should have a tool to cut off fintech and crypto companies from the U.S. if they pose risks. So we know Warren's agenda, right? Now, as always, I believe in law and order. I believe the SEC has a job to do to protect consumers. Now, they've fallen far from that mission because of Gary Gensler and his bullshit. But at the end of the day, these agencies, they're there to police and make sure bad actors don't do things. But we need a cleanup. These people have become so political and they have all kinds of agendas like Gensler and Warren. And while it's not necessarily wrong that OFAC can review the crypto transactions and take a look, we want them to do that. But we don't want them to break the law and come after crypto unfairly. We don't want them to treat crypto arbitrary and capricious like Gary Gensler's been doing. We want them to do their job, that if they do see a bad actor, they go after that bad actor. But Warren, you got to watch her framing. It's very sneaky, right? She'll try to make it seem like, will you shut these things down if something happens? Wait a minute. Why would you need to shut it down? Why don't you just go after the bad actor? In certain cases, can exchanges block a wallet? Sure. But her verbiage is very broad. For her, it would be like the government trying to shut something down without a warrant, right? Or trampling over your rights. So it's the nuances. You got to watch her framing. Very sneaky. So let's see what she decides to do. But the good thing is that she's lost. Her anti-crypto army is falling apart. Gensler is gone. Sherrod Brown is out. You name it, right? But she's still going to try her sneaky stuff here because she's still being lobbied by Jamie Dimon and these banking cartel people. But the crypto army is growing, folks. Here, Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, highlighted that Stand with Crypto just crossed a major milestone, 2 million advocates. He says their stretch goal is 4 million advocates by the 2026 midterms. This will be a powerful voting bloc in every election moving forward. The crypto voter is not slowing down. So, guys, crypto is on the rise in adoption. People who are both Democrats and Republicans invest. It only became political because of Elizabeth Warren, right? I have Democrat family members and friends. I have Republican friends and family members. They invest in crypto. Guess what? When they're talking about it, they're not, this is a Republican asset class or this is a Democrat. No, this is stupid, right? But Elizabeth Warren made it that way. And that's why, big part of why the Democrats lost. Crypto was the biggest spender in the election. We talked about it ad nauseum leading up to the election that what Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler were doing, it was going to hurt the Democrats. Now, Kamala Harris had an opportunity to disavow and stop this, but she didn't do it. And you make your bed, lay in it. All right, let's move ahead. Final news item. Blockchain forensic firm Chainalysis acquires AI-powered fraud detection platform Altaria. So Chainalysis is one of the firms that helps to track what's happening on the blockchains, to help stop bad actors and much more. I believe the government's going to use their technology to do a lot of these things. And it sounds like they're going to bolster their services and products with AI. So Chainalysis intends to use the acquisition of the Israeli firm Altaria to bolster its illicit transaction prevention strategy, the company noted on Monday. So this is good. We want this type of information out there that the government and different companies can use it to protect themselves from bad actors. At the end of the day, it's not about shutting down crypto. It's about stopping bad actors. Just like it was about stopping Bernie Madoff in a regulated market. Bernie Madoff was scamming people. Does that mean you shut down all the banks and you stop using ATMs and all that stuff? Of course not, right? Does that mean you stop investing in hedge funds or whatever in the markets? Of course not. We just have to stop bad actors. So this is really great to see that these companies, bolstering its services. And I think there's going to be more solutions coming that will help the government and all these folks to monitor things accordingly. They can monitor, and if they find something bad, go after the bad guys. Don't try to shut down the whole blockchain network and all that nonsense, right? Or you can blacklist certain wallet addresses and things like that. Folks, let me know what you think about this news. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. A great way you can support me in the podcast is by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free on Substack. And grab a copy of my book, Rethinking Crypto. It covers crypto's past, present, and future. Buy a copy for yourself. Buy a few copies for your friends and family. Help them to learn about crypto. Knowledge is power. And if you bought a copy already, please leave a rating and review on Amazon. It will really help me out. Thank you guys. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.